Experience Shop. This is a store where we receive our customers, at the same time giving them a full experience of our products, from the physical phones where they actually see and touch and feel and see the product that we produce, but we also have a VR, which is a virtual recording area that gives you a much more experience from a product point of view. So here, actually, these are some of our products that we have produced locally, and we have the 2 generation. We started in October 2019 with the first generation phones, that is our Mara X and Zs, and this is one of the samples that of the Mara Zs that we produced since October 2019. But as we produce, we also have a research and development center that's continue to work towards improving qualities and adjusting to new technology. And we are currently producing the 2nd generation of our product, where you'll now see the Mara S coming, the S coming from a Sustainable Development Goal, UN Sustainable Development Goal. At the same time, we have also the X1 that comes to replace the Mara X that was initially produced in 2019, and the upgraded version of the Mara Z, which is the Mara Z1. So it's all different. The difference comes from product specification, from the size of the screen, the capacity of the battery, the resolutions, the front and the back cameras, but also what most customers want to hear and to know about the space of the memory that you have on the particular phones. But with the aim to encourage and actually to continue producing quality phones, we also work toward affordability. And this is why in the next generation of our product, we've gone on the next level by producing much more advanced phones in terms of the capacity and the technology behind it, but tackling it as well, the affordability. So these are the products on the next generation, coming from the Z1, which is the newer version of the Z that we have on the other side. And if you look at if you allow me to come this side, on the specification, already on the screen side, that we actually moving to a much bigger screen that is going to the 6.5. It's a great experience out of it. And even in terms of the camera, when you look at the camera specification that you have and the batteries, on the battery, we had actually made provision to increase it from the 3000 milliamp to a 4000. That's about 1,000 higher in terms of capacity of the batteries to stay longer, but also at the same times of the size. I've mentioned the size of the screen, but also the megapixel, which customers want also to experience when they're taking pictures, which initially we were operating on a 13 megapixel from the front camera and back. That now has been increased to a 16 plus 8 and 2, making it more than 24 with a 3 camera. Initially we only had 1, now we've increased it to 3 cameras. And even in terms of capacity, the memory, which initially the memory RAM was on a 3 gigabyte, we've gone to 4 gigabytes, and then moving from 32 GB on the ROM to 64, which is a double the capacity. So that's what we're trying to do along the journey, just to make sure at least we are producing at a much better rates to tackle the affordability aspect, at the same time of producing quality device, interesting, good to appear. So customers really enjoy that. So when they come and visit what we call a Mara Experience Store, is to give them that experience, added to the VR corner, which is the virtual recording area where they can come and experience virtually what the product is all about. Thank you.
Yes, I know many people are loving your products.
Yes.
Could you run us through your distribution channel, or how you distribute your market? How
Absolutely.
Get your product?
No, thank you for your question. So in terms of distribution, we don't want to have a model that we control, we produce and distribute ourselves. What we want to do is to create dynamic of partnership. There is an existing distribution that is done through the network with MTN, different shops, but run by independent investor, businessman that's actually running the shops from MTN, from Airtel, and some who are purely sellers. That means these are dealers that import devices from abroad and then they resell them. So our approach and the dynamic is to produce and compose with the existing partners. So we took on board the largest distributors that are existing already, that who have been in the market, but importing the devices to give them an alternative to also get products that are locally produced here and then distribute them to the customers. It makes it easier for the distributors. They no longer need to import the devices. It makes it easier for us because we are not taking business from others. We are just adding more opportunity. It's like on a menu. When you go to a restaurant, I always tell people, you see, you have a choice. If you want something is important, you will still have it. But if you also want to experience something of good quality that is produced locally, you have it. As opposed to take away what is existent, which is working already.
Run us through the durability of your gadgets.
Yeah, we have a very good return when we look at what has been the journey for the last 15 months. Just to go back a little bit, we started producing in October 2019, but the journey until now has given us even more comfort and to be really comfortable that the product is of good quality, because the return in terms of after-sale services has not exceeded 2%. This is internationally accepted when you look at the industry where we operate, which also gives us strong confidence that our research and development team has actually worked hard to make sure that we have a good product. The products are equally good, and also in terms of after-sale services, since we produce them locally, we have to do our hands, and we are closer to our customers. Yeah.
What about the production capacity for Maraphone?
Production.
And how has it been growing?
Yes, demand is growing, but we are very far to reach the production capacity. The company has invested to a production capacity of about 1 million devices per year.
1 million devices
Per year. But this is in us considering that we are able to operate 24 hours.
Okay.
But at the moment, we are only producing on a 8-hour shift. That means one single shift of 5 days a week. Because we will increase capacity based on the demand. But investment in terms of equipment, in terms of what is required is already there. Yeah. But it's all about producing based on demand, but investment is being made already to a capacity of 1 million devices.
So based on how the market has responded over the last year, do you see yourself increasing production, and by how much?
We were expecting to increase production by end of 2021, but we are conscious that 2020 has been a difficult time for everyone.
Yes.
Demand had reduced significantly as a result of the COVID that has affected all facets of our economy, not just in Rwanda, but even abroad. So what has happened, it has delayed our plan for expansion. But in terms of the demand, we are extremely happy about how the response has been phenomenal. If I look at just not only the local market, even in the international market, we've been able to export to over 70 countries globally. Until April 21, it was 74 countries, which is a very good response in terms of how the product is perceived, not only in the domestic market, but also in the international market.
I think Rwanda is a very exciting story. You exporting to different countries. The product that is manufactured from Rwanda, an IP product, the phone that is exported to other countries. So which are these countries and how are you taking them?
It's a mix of countries. We've got countries in Europe, we have countries in America, in Asia, all the way to Australia. But if you look at now, what is also important to understand is the repeated orders. That shows that product is growing fast in this particular territory. We've had a good repeated number of phones that are on repeated orders on the side of the UK, Germany and Switzerland for now. But it's also growing in other markets. But the interesting aspect is that the product is getting, and awareness of the product is growing, And we have a very good partnership with DHL, who has been able to ship the phones at the destination to be able to service those customers. These are customers that are walking customers. These are customers that have got to know about our product online and imported them. But also some are using our e-commerce platform, because from our website you are able to order, pay, and have a phone delivered anywhere in the world. And that has been functional since November 2019. That has helped us reaching out to the customers wherever they are in the world.
Yeah. The phones are wonderful. People are talking good about your products. They are durable, they have very good features. These are the stories that we're picking from the market. Affordability. How affordable are you?
You're absolutely right. The biggest problem, not only in the local market and globally, is affordability.
Yeah.
Converting customers from the usage of feature phones to smartphones is the most hardest things to approach because of the cost aspect of it. As much as we are producing, we still depend on the cost of raw materials in the sense of chipsets and other component that goes in the production and assembly of a phone. So our biggest challenge, yes, is how do we get it affordable to all, as much as we are trying to keep a business model that expects return on investment on the long term. But one area that will still be a concern for us is we don't control the production of chipsets and other components. It's still controlled by the biggest producer in the world, who supply to all the big producers of smartphones. But what we have done, and we believe should be a good start, is when you look at the production of our first generation phones, the cheapest phone was 129,000 Rwandan francs. The first generation. And the most expensive was 189,000. As we speak today, the highest has been maintained to 189 with a double capacity of what it was. But our cheapest phone is 59,000. That's a beginning and of maintaining the quality of the device, but also responding to the challenge of affordability. This is not yet the end of it. 59 remains also non-affordable to certain category of our society, not only in Rwanda, but even in Africa, if I look at the holistic approach for Africa. So we are now introducing a new concept, which we call a Marapride. Marapride. It's a membership program. That means a customer can actually come to our shop and get immediately a phone for the cost of 17,000 Rwandan francs. Actually 14,999, which is rounding off to 15,000. But he will be able to pay only 200 francs per day.
Wow. Okay.
So that is responding to affordability, but giving easy access. The only way we can actually respond to the affordability is not on pricing. We can't control it.
That's a smartphone?
That is a smartphone. Okay. From the entry level of a smartphone. So what the company has done so far is to create that device financing membership program whereby a customer can actually come to our shop and start. And this is a project that we are completing in terms of organizing all the requirements. So at least from the 1st of July, we should be in a position to launch officially, and customers can come to our shop or Mara Experience shop and actually acquire the phones. And what is interesting with this model is that after this initial membership payment that they've done for the equivalent of the 15,000, they qualify every year for a new device.
Okay.
Without having to pay another membership.
Okay.
So the membership is a one-time joining fee to be part of the Marapride program, and then as long as they're able to pay 200 francs per day, which could be paid on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis, depending on incomes that they make, they qualify for a new smartphone every 12 months. Then every year you get a new phone.
Wow.
So we believe it's a good way to maintain customers happy with functional devices, maintain them on the network, and since they are all smartphones, we will be now contributing to the digital transformation of our country, because they can now digitally interact and acquire services, multiple services across the industries.
you as a player, a key player in this market, what do you think government could do to bring further down the cost of these gadgets, enhance penetration?
Yes, there's a lot to be done. Some are on our side, some on the side of the government of Rwanda. But one thing that the government has done, which has significantly helped us along the journey, was already on the side of tax incentive. So we are not taxed heavily, but we also been given free tax on the import of our raw materials on an annual basis. That makes production costs lower, but at the same time, they've given us access to the prime economic zone, which has also other benefits and incentives in terms of cost of utilities, infrastructure, internet coverage, which help a lot in terms of reducing the cost. But what the government has done, not only in Rwanda, but also what Africa is doing with the Africa free mobility of goods and services, we will be able also to ship and export our product in other African countries and benefit from tax incentive. So what the government can actually help us is to mediate and help us, because some countries are slow, as much as they've signed to join this initiative, but implementation is slow. So once implementation is being done and we have access to these countries, we will be able to push our product to the potential 1.3 billion citizens that we have in Africa. That alone is a huge, huge market.
And this facility you have down here can deliver that?
Can deliver. Because as I mentioned, we have started already, we have invested students to the production of about 1 million devices.
Yes.
But based on demand, we can scale up rapidly.
So the government looks up to companies like you to realize the benefits of Made in Rwanda, which is reducing the trade deficit.
Absolutely.
Reducing on the imports, such that you can have favorable terms of payment, favorable balance of trade in the near future. So let's tackle this aspect of the imports, the other gadgets that are on the market. We have so many brands on the market coming from Asia, others from other parts of the world. So how are you positioning yourself with this competition of other gadgets, most of which are actually substandard?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And this is one of the challenges that we have on hand, where we are trying to mitigate. The first thing is import of devices. Is actually the economy is largely driven by that, because production wasn't there. And what Rwanda did at the time, which is very commendable, was to give free tax on the devices. It was done with the aim to increase digital transformation, increase smartphone penetration in the country, and they've acquired that not only in Rwanda but also at the East Africa community level, which means that any import of devices will also benefit for tax incentive on that perspective, which makes it difficult for protection of local production. But understand this was done before this has been implemented. But we've started some conversation with the various stakeholders to create that awareness that should protect also local production. Why is it required is producing in Asia, for instance, where most of these devices are imported, and producing in Rwanda, for instance, as a comparison, we have not scaled it up to the level of producing at a very low cost. So any importer will definitely have benefit the producers in Asia because they've already scaled up. So there should be some balancing aspect on our side as well, whereby in terms of tax benefit, they also protect and encourage investment locally, which will definitely increase and give us capacity, give us a large demand to be able to position our phones fairly competitive with other importers of devices. But this is the beginning of the conversation. I must recognize our factory is really new, and this law was already implemented far before that. But since we have a very, I would say, open country and government, they're always ready to listen to understand what are the challenges the local industries are experiencing
So
to be able to. We're not calling for protectionism, but we are calling for tax benefits that should, yes, at some stage, protect local production. Local production should not have the same tax incentive as import. Then there's discouragement for local producers because they can also then import and still make and gain value out of it. So that is the rationale behind it. But this will not also stop import of devices. Remember that, just a matter of information, when you look at smartphone penetration in Africa, even in Rwanda, we are still very low. We can barely reach 20%. But with a population of 1.3 billion, that means there's much, much more to do. The network operators have already invested in the infrastructure, creating the 2Gs, moving from the 2Gs to the 3Gs and the 4G. You need to create traffic. To create traffic, we need much, much more smartphones. And then by doing that with content that's available, then we can definitely digitalize our economies. So to say, even us, with the current capacity of 1 million devices per year, it's not enough already for the rest of the African market. So it's about composing together. So even phones are imported, but there's some incentive that allows local industries to continue grow to the point where they'll be able to have reached a threshold that should be sufficient for the demand in the market.
So let's talk about electrification and the technological transfer. So how are you empowering Rwandans?
Very good point. And this is one of our prides to say, since we created this industry, we currently live apart the effect of COVID and post-COVID. We currently have 200 staff members. Our aim is to reach at least a minimum of 1,000 people. This is creating, and initially it was in a period of 2 years, but we got affected in the first year immediately after starting the production. But this is a bad time that will go. We just need to survive and then continue with our journey. We will not stop our journey, but we're only adjusting it. So when I look at 1,000 staff members, these are skilled, highly skilled staff. These are people who will be trained to produce the smartphones. By being skilled to that level, these are people who are able to produce tablets. And when you look at smartphones, tablets, it's exactly the same technology that goes all the way to the TVs. That means we are potentially growing skills that any investors tomorrow that comes to Rwanda and put in place a TV factory will have resources that are already trained. It's just adjusting. It's the screen, the size of, but the motherboards are more or less the same. Technology is more or less the same. It changes from the size of certain component that you put in it, but that is a market that will be there in terms of the capacity that we're building in Rwanda. In the next 3 months, we are starting with the tablets. So we are training already towards that. And keep in mind, I talked earlier about free mobility of people and goods in Africa. That means even other African countries, when they'll be ready to start to invest heavily in high-tech industries, local resources in Rwanda could also be exported as skilled labor in those countries. And that's the interesting aspect. And this is why I call it, it's one of the pride that we have by setting up this industry, making sure that every single day we are passing on skills to the local capacity. We started with 200 staff members, and to date, 90% of them are locals, and 10% are trainers, which are highly skilled staff members that we brought from the bigger players of the industries, who have 15 to 20 years of experience in the industries, who are able to pass on the skills to our staff members. And by the way, 62% are ladies.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yes, so
Women empowerment.
exactly. Women empowerment is part of our agenda, and this is an industry that's highly intensive in terms of human capacity, and the ladies have been proved to be also extremely good in the production of the devices.
As we conclude this, I want you to arrest these fears, the manufacturing versus assembly.
Yes.
It's a general talk on the street.
Absolutely.
So when you say made in Rwanda, we have a manufacturing facility plus an assembly facility. So, and this is the debate that we normally capture on the street.
Exactly.
Now, having a player like you is a blessing.
Exactly.
So, talk to that person on the street. What it means to have a phone like this one made in Rwanda.
Yes.
In terms of manufacturing versus assembly.
Yes, you're very right. You see the difference in a basic way. For somebody to understand the difference between assembly and production is the human capacity and artificial intelligence. When you look at assembly, it's purely human capacity putting the components together and putting the software that are needed for the phone to be functional. That is assembly. Production starts from the motherboard. Motherboard is the heart of the phone. You cannot produce a motherboard with less than 500 components. So it cannot be manually done. These are high advanced technology machines using artificial intelligence which will pick and place the devices. That's where production starts. Even look in the, which we do here. Even the biggest players, when you look at, I'm not giving any names because we all know them. So no one produces himself the screen because this is a cosmetic product. That's another industry on its own.
Yes.
Just producing the screen.
Yes.
And one of the biggest producers of screen is Corning. Corning has been there for many years. They do screen for phones, screen for TV. They do even glasses, sunglasses. Well-known big brand. Batteries, it's another industry. Chargers, it's another industry. Cameras, it's another factory. So you cannot actually produce 100% alone because it's involve multiple factories. But the uniqueness of a certain particular brand, such as Mara or any other manufacturer of smartphones, comes from the motherboard, where you produce your own motherboard. Then you compose with other factories based on the design and the size of your phones. So they produce for you the other component that will come in the assembly. That's the difference. I hope it's easy to.
How does Maraphone ensure quality in terms of durability and all when you're actually getting other pieces from other producers, especially the battery?
Very
The
true.
battery and the screen.
That's very true, and that's where research and development is very key. Producers of the battery, like as one example, are known. You first engage the biggest producers of batteries, and then you test them. So at least you have some sense of durability, efficiency, and then you tackle the issue of quality. And this is why I earlier said it's difficult, extremely hard to control pricing because quality comes with a cost. So obviously the biggest producers who also produce batteries of high quality cost more than those producing the lowest quality at the lowest price. So we try to balance that and say, get the right balance to maintain quality on one side and affordability. Yeah. And this is why I even say, even in the biggest brand, some questions that say, why is Mara or why is this brand cheaper than the other brand with a huge big difference in pricing? It's all these components and the level and the costs of what they are, which also play a big factor in the pricing of the phones.
When you launched a year ago, Rwanda was very, very expectant.
Yes.
And they still are. What more should they expect in the near future?
In the near
What
future,
is boiling the free zone?
in the free zone. What is boiling the free zone is, which is the number one driving force. Part of this prime economic zone with a vision to make a difference in our country, and beyond that is to control the technology that allows us customizing the production. A typical example, you've seen our motorcycles on the streets with a device that they're using, which allows them to do geolocalization, payment structures, etc. This is a partnership. No, it's not only Yegomoto. There's a partnership that you have Yego, you have Bascar, and you have AC Group, which is the biggest. We have a partnership with AC Group. AC Group has the solution, but they're using our devices. So that uniqueness is that what we are aiming to do, is to be able to produce, but to customize. If today we are discussing with the SACCO microfinances, the SACCO cooperatives, they're looking at solutions to interconnect them so at least they all move into the digital way. And that will be done with the phones. So we are discussing with the Rwanda Cooperative Agency to have an easy access to the smartphones to all SACCOs on an easy payment plan with a solution where that fit them. We will not design the solution, we will partner with a solution provider who's locally, then we can provide homegrown solution. We integrate the solution on the phone. So when a SACCO member receives the phone and is able to pay only 200 or 300 francs per day, or even 150 depending on how the business has been structured, he will have a solution on the phone. But on the back of it, there's a homegrown solution from a manufacturing perspective, us who are producing, and you, a Rwandan, who have already designed a solution for responding to a certain challenge that Rwanda is experiencing. And we want to take it further than that. Not only Rwanda, to be an African story and successful story for Africa to understand they have a uniqueness as well. The same way other brands are proud to be localized in Asia, in Europe, in America, but to have an African brand. Because today, Mara what is Mara? It's an African brand born in Rwanda, for Rwandan, for Africans, and the rest of the world.
So I think we end on the high. This is made in Rwanda.
Yes.
And where we end is actually what brings it out really nice.
Yeah.
How you are customizing these technologies to the challenges that are facing our communities. So that product that you're working on that will help the SACCOs, I think these are some of the challenges, the solutions that we look forward to. Yes, in terms of helping our communities. Thank you so much for this discussion.
Yeah.
We hope to keep interacting.
Thank you. It's been
roll out more technologies.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for the time, and we look forward to expanding further.